Now we take a look at number 5 in our series, looking at lessons of faith from the book of Joshua. This is God fights for you, and it's almost the exact opposite of what we saw in number 4, when the commander of the Lord's army, when he was asked, are you on our side or not, he says, I'm on neither side. And so when we come to God fights for you, we would expect to have a bit more material, but all we're given from Joshua is that line that says that because God was fighting for them, they were able to conquer the land in one campaign, which, as I previously said, wasn't it kind of exactly true, because there was still more to do even at the end of Joshua's life, as God said to Joshua at that time. So we have to look at this and ask ourselves, does God always fight for you? As I put in the notes for this time, what about John the Baptist and what happened to him? What about the execution of James? What about Paul's experience where he had so much hostility? You remember that time where he details all that he has suffered for the gospel, being beaten and shipwrecked and flogged and all these other things that happened to him. Is that God fighting for you? Well, we could take it either way, I suppose. Yes, God doesn't remove the consequences of this sad and evil world, not in every case. Sometimes you find that things don't go your way as a Christian, and you have to look at it and say, okay, Lord, I'm asking for your help, and I'm asking for you to fight for me. Maybe more importantly, we should ask God, please could you fight for the concepts of goodness and truth and right and love, all the virtues that you embody. And that would be probably a better kind of prayer, rather than saying, God, please fight for me and do what I'm asking for you. You remember in the Psalms that David often asks God, please take out my enemies, deal with them. Make sure that they don't survive in this world, and make sure that they pay the price and so on. A very human kind of attitude, a very human kind of emotion, and God allows that. But what he's really asking for, I think, is for our commitment to him, to say, I trust you in everything that I do. I want to align myself with you. I want to agree with you that right is right and wrong is wrong, and that the way you run your universe is exactly the way I would want it. And it's completely in contrast to the way that the devil has tried to usurp that authority. You know that the devil has said that I will make myself like the Most High. I will reign in the way that God does. But he doesn't. He just wants the power. He doesn't want the responsibility. He doesn't want to operate in the way that God operates. He just wants to be a dictator, which is exactly what he accuses the Lord of. So when it comes to, does God fight for you? Well, yes. But it's not always a blank slate, maybe we could say it that way. It's not a check that is open and you can use it any way you want. You remember the Israelites thought that God would always have to fight for them and that he couldn't do anything else. They took the ark into battle against the Philistines, convinced that God would never let them down, and they were trying to exploit God in that way. And of course, God had to teach them a lesson there. And then what about the fact towards the end of the northern kingdom, they were taken away. The Assyrians came in, and then the southern kingdom taken away into slavery in Babylon because they thought that God was always going to be with them and refused to do what he said. They were living their lives exactly as they wanted to, in, I would suggest, a very corrupt and evil way, and they still thought that they could rely on God's blessings. We have to learn from those kinds of experiences. God doesn't fight for you if you're not doing the right thing. That's the bottom line here. And if we want God to fight for us and to help us to do what's right in our lives, then we have to want to do what is right too. May God bless you as you study this particular week.